There it is. He timed it right. Counting to explode with the left. Oh, and that right, but Davis took off some of the steam of the punch, but still.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The purses are out for what was this past weekend's fight in Atlanta, Georgia, headlined by Claressa Shields versus Kay Scotch. And you know what?
What?
It's not the $2 million per fight that was originally reported per the Georgia State Athletic Commission. Claressa Shields banked about $500,000, only a quarter of what she was said to have been earning per fight. Where is the rest of the money?
And look at what Kay Scott got. $54,000? That's what you're paying opponents? You're supposed to be the face of women's boxing, aren't you?
It's what some people say, but if she's the face of women's boxing and the biggest draw, why do Katie and Amanda's opponents get more than Claressa's?
Now, it's sort of an industry standard to not claim your entire purse for tax purposes. The more you claim, the more they tax.
So it's not uncommon for fighters to hide a small portion of their purse from the tax man, but this is no small portion. You still believe that Claressa Shields is getting $2 million per fight. You're saying that she hid $1.5 million?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's what I thought. Win Records, who supposedly came up with the $15 million for Layla Ali, hasn't been around long enough to come up with that kind of scratch. Not really. They're barely a year old. And who's gonna kick out $2 million per fight for Claressa to fight an old Pilates instructor? She's been running around telling every man, woman, and his dog that she's the highest paid woman in the sport.
Amanda Serrano would like a word. Katie Taylor also. I'm fairly confident they are both getting in excess of $500,000 for their upcoming fights.
Even worse, that Chris Cyborg has been paying close attention to what Claressa's purse would be. She said, I offered Claressa $2 million. She took $500,000 to fight an older woman with less pro wins and 0 career knockouts instead. The goofiest woman of all time! So why can you trust that Chris Cyborg's $2 million offer to box Claressa is a genuine offer, and it's because of who's behind it? The PFL. They already had an interest in Claressa Shields and putting her in the octagon with her old buddy, Savannah Marshall. Claressa walked away from that
after what was her last MMA fight,
knowing that the PFL was willing to finance a rematch between her and Savannah in the Octomom. And if you want my opinion, and you're here, so I'll assume that you do, I think she was running from that rematch. She's never wanted to run it back with Savannah Marshall.
in a boxing ring at a cage.
And this was obviously before Savannah Marshall stood inactive for over a year, obviously before Deja Green beat her. Before that, there was an effort to get those two women back in the ring with each other, and Claressa consistently walked away from it.
She was scared.
She's not going to admit it, and her fans aren't going to admit it. In spite of winning their initial meeting, Claressa Shields didn't want to run it back with Savannah because she knew it wouldn't be easy, because she felt the power and didn't want any more.
She was scared.
Didn't she say immediately after the fight that she lost sight in one eye or hearing out of one ear?
Yeah, she said something like that.
The PFL was willing to pay for the second fight. Now the PFL is willing to pay for her to fight Chris Cyborg, but she'd rather fight for peanuts on the dollar instead, pretending that she's getting $2 million per fight. I knew it was all bullshit. I knew it was all a bluff.
Was she bluffing, though?
Whoever wants to use her. The basic idea is you make a big announcement that you're going to make $2 million per fight so that moving forward, if anybody wants to use you, that's what they have to pay.
That's what your contract minimum is.
Except that that's not her contract minimum. That's not what she's making per fight, making it a bluff.
That's what I figured.
Because if the people on your side are playing with that kind of money, then the people on your side should be the ones making the offers. You shouldn't be calling out MVP to lift the ban.
No wonder that's the first thing she did after the fight.
First thing she did is start talking about MVP fighters. Lift the ban, MVP. Because she needs them to. She can't make any real money without them. She's not making real money on her own. Though for relying so much on MVP to finance your biggest payday, you may as well have signed to them when you had the chance. Now, they've no real reason to oblige you, to entertain you. You who publicly defame their company, their fighters.
Nikisa!
Let her starve, Nikisa. Don't do Claressa any favors. She doesn't deserve them.
She's supposed to be king shit.
Let her and Papoose and Win Records figure it out on their own. Everybody's gushing about how she just sold out apparently not well enough to make any serious money.
There's always a lot of mental gymnastics when it comes to Claressa Shields. Her resume, the divisions she campaigns in, how big a draw she is or how big a draw she isn't.
No wonder she was on Instagram trying to sell overpriced Funko Pops.
Copies of her latest CD.
If the recorded purse is $500,000, understand that she doesn't walk away with $500,000. Some of that has got to go into camp fees.
Gotta pay the tax, man.
A lot of fingers in the pie to where what she walks away with is likely more in the neighborhood of $300,000 if she's lucky. She's a fake it till you make it kind of girl. She wants to pretend that she's in the same tax bracket as Katie and Amanda. She wants to pretend that she's got it as good as they do.
That she has the same kind of fans they do, receives the same kind of adulation. Not based on that purse, you don't.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing.
Boxing!
Apparently, Shakur Stevenson has sidestepped James Toney's main criticism of him. Shakur Stevenson answered James Toney's attack on his pound-for-pound standing by emphasizing that each man belongs to a different era. That response avoids the substance of Toney's critique. Shakur has not consistently pursued the best opposition without requesting conditions in his favor. Impressive? Huh, Sir James? Nah, I'm glad I wasn't in your era, big homie, Shakur stated on X. I get to create my own legacy. You were a great fighter back then and a killer, as I am in my era. Toney dismissed Shakur's pound-for-pound credentials during an interview with About Boxing. For what? What has he done, James Toney asked. If you want to be top dog, fight the best fighters out there. Don't make excuses. I did. Roy did. Hagler did. Who does he have to fight? The likes of Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis. Shakur is correct that he must create his own legacy. The difficulty is that his accomplishments are judged against fighters such as James Toney whenever he receives a lofty pound-for-pound ranking. James Toney fought Michael Nunn, Mike McCallum, Roy Jones, Vasily Jarov, Evander Holyfield, John Ruiz, and Samuel Peter. He climbed from middleweight to heavyweight without requesting catchweight protection against what were naturally larger men. A fighter with that mentality would find plenty of work today.
And that is where there is room to criticize Shakur Stevenson, as he's become very indecisive as of late. He doesn't want to fight O'Shaquie Foster because he says that he's too small.
He doesn't seem to want to unify his own division, the 140-pound division. He doesn't seem to want to fight the champions that are there, but at the same time, he's not ready to fight at a full 147.
Even though he said he'd be willing to fight Conor Benn at 154.
But he would need a catch weight for Ryan and a catch weight for Devin. And what are you supposed to say to that? For the money that Shakur Stevenson is making, he's become a very, very picky eater. And on that premise, you can critique him. What do you want? Who do you want to fight?
James Toney did not need social media campaigns, prolonged negotiations, or weight concessions to convince people that he wanted dangerous opposition. Promoters knew he would accept the fight and relied on his ability. That is the point Shakur sidestepped. He has captured titles in 4 divisions and defeated Teofimo Lopez, but he has pursued fights with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn, all using weight stipulations. The proposed terms included catch weights for Haney and Garcia, along with rehydration clauses for Benn that weakens any comparison with champions like Toney, who moved up and accepted the full physical disadvantage. Times have changed, but James Toney's standards have not. If Shakur wants recognition alongside champions from earlier decades, he must beat Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, and other elite opponents under normal championship conditions.
I would agree, but I would only add that that doesn't just apply to him, that also applies to them, because Devin Haney fought Jose Ramirez at a catch weight, and how many weight stipulations have you seen Gervonta Davis use to handicap his opponents?
This critique doesn't just apply to Shakur.
Though focusing on it, the takeaway is that this generation of fighters is a lot weaker and a lot more bureaucratic than their predecessors. There is a natural tension between generations, the old lion versus the young lion, Gen Alpha versus Gen Z versus the millennials
Versus the Gen Xers, and the Gen Xers versus the boomers. Boom.
The older generation is always harping to the younger one about how different things used to be, how difficult, how much more arduous.
The younger generation grows resentment for the older one because they start to feel like they're living in their shadow and they can't do anything right for them. Seems like the older generation is always finding ways to take them down a peg, and that's just the natural order of things. I agree with that portion of James Toney's critique, but to say that Shakur's not pound for pound overall, that is inaccurate, because he is a 4-weight world champion here today without using weight stipulations to get there. Even if he wants to use them all of a sudden.
There were no weight stipulations in play when he beat Oscar Valdez or Jamel Herring, when he beat William Zepeda, when he beat Teofimo Lopez. He didn't need weight stipulations for any of that to weaken his opponents. So where he is now, he earned it.
Even if he has all of a sudden become very picky and indecisive.
While that does leave him open for criticism, you can't question his status as a pound-for-pound fighter. He's definitely that, and understand that his base style is not my cup of tea. Nobody criticizes pure boxers in the YouTube boxing space more than I do. I detest that base style.
I think it's bad for boxing.
Even though it's effective, and that's what a pound-for-pound ranking attempts to gauge. How effective are you as a fighter across multiple weight classes? Irrespective of weight, can you stay in character? And Shakur Stevenson, like him or not, he has.
Perhaps I am a little bit too even-tempered for some, and this boxing take isn't polarizing enough, but I consider Shakur Stevenson a pound-for-pound fighter while still criticizing him, because he's not above criticism.
Nobody is.
In men's super middleweight news, a revealing set of quotes from Hamzah Sheeraz, the newly minted WBO super middleweight champion, who said, "I've got one fight left with Frank Warren's Queensberry. We've had a great relationship, and we'll see what happens."
Notice that he's already speaking of them in past tense?
We'll see what the options are. Yeah, for sure. I want to explore my options and see what else is out there. I mean, why not? Ultimately, I want to do what's best for my career, what's best for me, what I feel is best for me. That could mean staying with Queensberry.
But that could also mean migrating from Queensberry over to Zmufa. Like Conor Benn just did from Matchroom, and Richardson Hitchens, and Edgar Berlanga, Johnny Fisher. Coincidentally, the incomparable Ariel Hawaii recently sat down and talked with Hamzah Sheeraz and picked his brain about just that promotional outfit.
I do know you have a great relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh, and he's obviously closely related to Zuffa Boxing. And so the natural thought would be, if and when you become a free agent, that might be an outlet that you look at?
Definitely an avenue I'll explore. I can't say that I'll 100% go with them because, like I said, I'm still in contract with Queensberry and I could still end up being with them. But yeah, if and when I'm free, definitely an option I'll explore.
What have you thought of the product, watching them from afar?
I think they're great for boxing. I feel like they bring something new to the game, and I feel like genuinely they're here for the betterment of the fighters. And I'm sure a lot of people out there will disagree with what I said, but as for me and my thinking, I stand by that.
So, it's interesting, one of the things that initially the likes of Dana White, who's obviously the face of Zuffa Boxing, is like, we don't want to work with these sanctioning bodies anymore. We don't want to deal with the WBC, WBO, IBF.
Hey, look, it's perfect you said that, because the WBO doing what they've done with me just goes to prove their point.
Well, that's exactly why I was saying it. I'm wondering if there's a part of you that's like, you know what? I do agree with what they're saying. I don't want to have to deal with this nonsense. I'm siding with them, basically, after going through this now.
As for me, I can only speak about the WBO because I've only had this experience with them. I can't speak for the other governing bodies. That would be unfair.
Yeah.
So as for that, that's my kind of stance on that comment for now.
And so you see that Hamzah's not happy with the WBO's recent order, simultaneously speaking favorably about Zuffa. You didn't need to be a genius to know. There's every possibility he might go over there. They might have already spoken to him.
They're not going to wait around until his contract expires to have a dialogue with him. They could be whispering sweet nothings into his ear right now.
But who would he fight over there? They don't have a super middleweight division, and he already knocked out Edgar Berlanga, the only super middleweight they have under contract.
Maybe they can get him Canelo.
Maybe they could do it on Paramount Plus, like they're doing Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn. on Paramount Plus because you figure that Turki El Al-Sheikh is connected to TKO. Turki El Al-Sheikh is the one who's been financing Hamzah Sheeraz's biggest paydays.
And what was my previous assertion, that Hamzah Sheeraz might decide to drop the brown belt in light of this order so long as he can go fight for another one, fight for another belt.
If the next fight he has is the final fight of his Queensberry deal, he may choose not to fight somebody dangerous. He might want to keep his unbeaten record intact and drop the brown belt.
Losing to Yanni Beck, you lose the chance to fight Canelo.
He is sort of painted into a corner here because he's not free of Queensberry yet, but he is currently under orders, and it's either fight or flight. You either fight Yanni Beck Alimkhanuly or give him the brown belt while you're still under contract with Queensberry.
That timing.
I know. The order came down right on time to paint Hamzah Sheeraz into a corner. Originally, I thought that Hamzah wouldn't be happy with the order, and I was right, but I also thought that Frank and George, they wouldn't be happy either. Now I'm wondering,
Did they have something to do with it?
them and Top Rank sort of deliberately painting Hamzah into a corner because they know very soon he's about to be a free agent and he might leave them for the competition.
Think they're trying to cripple him?
Maybe before he goes, before he becomes a useful pawn in Zuffa's effort to take over the UK boxing scene, they figure, let's add a loss to this guy's column and see how much they want to pay for him then.
You think they would do that?
I think it's a dog-eat-dog world. I think it's survival of the fittest. And Frank Warren has not lasted as long as he has in this industry because he doesn't know how to survive, because he doesn't know what to do. He's seen upstarts come and go in this sport.
Survived through it all.
So for Zuffa, the virtue of signing a Hamzah Sheeraz is that right now, he's an unbeaten world champion. But all of that could change in a matter of weeks, in a matter of months. Maybe he doesn't have that brown belt.
Yeah, but Zuffa don't want to work with the sanctioning bodies.
Maybe not. But is Hamzah Sheeraz a big acquisition without that brown belt? Just him going over there with his unbeaten record, if you can finagle that.
Who's he gonna fight?
Now, they probably can wrangle a Canelo Alvarez fight, though, of course, that relies on Canelo beating Christian Mobili, and we don't know if he's going to.
There's a question there. Even if he does, him versus Hamzah, that wouldn't be a unification match, would it? You don't have that angle to sell it. It's just Hamzah challenging Canelo for what he's already got.
Hamzah has the potential to become a very big draw in the UK. The potential, but he's not there yet. Because Turki El Al-Sheikh has been paying him in excess of his market value,
And because Zuffa might want to.
things can still go wrong. If he loses that brown belt because he gives it up, or if he loses a fight, he's not a big acquisition anymore, and what are you going to do with him then? Meanwhile, people at Queensberry will be busy signing the next unbeaten British up-and-comer.
Because there's more where that came from.
And they know how to find them. It's what I told you before. In the end, it's going to boil down to know-how and who's got more of it. And I don't think Zuffa knows more about selling boxing in the UK than Queensberry.
So what should Hamzah do?
He's painted into a corner, folks. The situation may be untenable. Fight Yanni Beck Alimkhanuly, and you risk losing your belt and losing your O.
But if you don't fight him, you keep your O, but you still lose your belt.
Money might be what decides it. If he can afford to drop that belt and still go over to Zuffa and make a boatload of cash, that might be what he does. The question is, what's he going to do in his next fight?
That requires a more immediate answer that right now isn't clear.